There exists a legend echoing through the corridors of time, whispered among the sands of ancient Egypt. A prophecy foretold that there will come the one that will rise above the masses, take the chance out of trading and make absolutely ungodly amounts of money. Throughout the years, many thought they were the chosen one, but all of them failed miserably, losing life savings and more. But there is one of them who has the power to wield the forbidden weapon, to trade 0-day seal expiry options and make more than $20 million in less than a year. It is my honor to present to you a trader who rightfully so got a nickname of Nasdaq's #1 fan and goes by the name of Austerian18. This absolute legend made more than an $8 million or a 2,500% gain in just 2 months and is down by more than $20 million or 5,000% since April 2023. But even before that he was making some huge gains. Now the most unusual part is that he made these ungodly gains by mostly buying 0-day seal expiry options, which is like trying to catch a falling knife while balancing on a unicycle. So let's go all the way back to his beginnings and just maybe by the end of his journey we'll understand how he consistently makes money with what is usually regarded as just pure gambling. His journey starts 5 years ago when he YOLO'd into SPX 0-day seal expiry options. So yeah, he was playing with fire from the very beginning. Now in that position he was up by $147,000 from about 100k. He didn't reveal what happened to that trade, but 10 months later he posted a 10x or 150k gain on 0-day seal expiry options on futures. Apparently he was inversing everyone on WallStreetBets and could have even been up by more, but he sold half of his position to lock in profits while they tripled the next day. And to make such a huge gain he only risked 11.2k. Obviously he didn't stop there, and just 2 months later he one-upped himself by turning $3,000 into $108,000 with 1-day till expiry Amazon call options. And on top of that he had a bull call spread on Amazon with which he turned $9,000 into another $100,000, essentially making $208,000 from 12k in about 4 days. Now the reason why he entered the trade was that Amazon was breaking out of multi-month resistance with volume on good news. A couple weeks later he was back with a bit smaller gain but still a huge percentage gain. He was up by about 28k once again on 0-day seal expiry call options on ES futures. But he didn't close the position just yet. In fact he sold half before Trump's speech and held the rest. He ended up being up by 50k on a 4k position, so evidently not sleeping that night and staying up for 27 hours was worth it. Right after that he bought some SPX weekly calls on which he made $147,000 a week later. And then for more than 2 years there was silence, until he came back with a nice gain of $105,000 on Chipotle 1-day till expiry calls, as he apparently bought calls because the CEO said poor people can't afford burritos. No, but in all seriousness his DD is purely based on watching them raise their prices while the lines remain the same. Just a day later he posted yet another huge gain, this time on Microsoft calls and Amazon bull call spreads. And after another year of silence, that finally brings us to April 2023, when his incredible journey of making more than $20 million in less than a year began. Now I have to warn you, from this point on his gains just get exponentially more and more insane, so let's get right into it. He started off by 10xing his position on 0-day seal expiry Nasdaq options and making $172,000. This time he bet on the CPI report being very bullish. Aside from that, we finally got a look into his mind, as he said there is a chart showing returns on 0-day seal expiry options since they were added for every day, and 1% out of the money calls were actually positive on average. In the past couple of months you even had a pretty good chance of winning if you bought 0-day puts on pops and calls on dips. Now in just a week he did it again by making another 10x gain, this time on Nasdaq bull spreads, which is just an option strategy where you buy one call and sell a different call on the same asset, and that way you limit your losses and gains. Anyway, he turned about 13k into $120,000, as he honestly just believed that the market wouldn't go down unless something extraordinary would happen, like a default or a significant CPI miss. And if these gains weren't crazy enough, here things get absolutely mind-boggling. Just a day after the previous gain he posted a pretty moderate gain, at least compared to what is yet to come, of more than $500,000 in just a week. On about 30 Nasdaq calls he turned 50k into $448,000, and on some Nvidia calls he turned 16k into $222,000. At At the time he thought we were in a bubble and said that he was probably going to sell his Nvidia stock before the earnings report. Now if you don't remember, on that earnings report the stock jumped up by 30% and has been going up ever since. Well, he actually didn't sell the position he just posted, even though it would expire at the end of the day, and his decision paid off massively as his Nasdaq calls became worth $688,000 and his Nvidia calls $328,000. Now just let that sink in. He risked $75,000 and turned it into a bit more than $1 million, and he did all of that in just a week. Now most people would probably stop at this point and get out, especially when the earnings report for Nvidia was coming up next week. But as you should probably know by now, he isn't most people. So not only did he hold his Nvidia shares for the earnings report, but he also bought $33,000 worth of Nvidia calls. Well, he luckily made the right bet as he made another $1 million in just a day. The 33k of Nvidia calls turned into $536,000, his shares were up by $213,000, and on top of that he had some Nasdaq calls on which he turned 34k into $242,000. Having that said, he closed the options as soon as the market opened, but kept the Nvidia shares. Now just imagine making $1 million in a day. Now imagine making $1 million a day for 2 days in a row, because that's exactly what he did. In fact, he even made a bit more, bringing his account to almost $6 million, with most of his gains coming from 0-day sale expiry Nasdaq bull call spread. And at this point, I think it's quite obvious why he has a nickname Nasdaq's #1 fan. At the time, he said he'd quit when his portfolio would hit $10 million, but before we go any further, I should probably mention where he got his capital. Well, he saved about 30k from working in college and had a full ride through school, including living expenses. So any money he made working was his to keep, and he used it to start trading a little more than 10 years ago. Well, after those 2 consecutive gains, he took a 2 weeks break, only to return with another $1.2 million gain. Once again, most of his gains came from Nasdaq bull spread, as he turned about $75,000 into $800,000. On top of that, he turned 46k into $243,000 with PBR calls, 25k into $202,000 with Nvidia calls, and 20k into $190,000 with Nvidia bull spread. Now with these gains, he got his amount to $7.2 million, getting very close to his goal, but he decided to withdraw $1.7 million, securing some of the profit. Once again, 2 weeks went by until he returned with a new daily record, as he made $1,791,000 in just a day, bringing his account value to $8.5 million. As you might guess, he once again made most of his money from Nasdaq bull call spread. But then after 2 weeks he broke his records and made $2,748,000 in a day, bringing his account value well above his initial goal. Needless to say, most of his gains came from Nasdaq bull spread, with one part of his most profitable spread going from 117k to $2.7 million. And then he went quiet for 7 months. What did he do in those 7 months? Well, he made an $8 million or a 2500% gain in just 2 months and got his account to more than $20 million. So yeah, after gaining 3000% last year and reaching $12 million by August, he withdrew his money, stopped trading, and split the money into dividend stocks, some real estate, and half of it went to pay estimated taxes to the IRS. But after living his full of adrenaline life for so long, he couldn't just simply stop. He naturally got bored, so he restarted trading in November with about 350k he had left in his trading account. He hit around $2 million by the end of the year and quadrupled it since the new year because he simply wanted to prove it wasn't just a fluke. Most of the gains obviously came from 0-day sale expiry options on Nasdaq index. He identified a trade that worked and traded it relentlessly with some truly degenerate positions like 300k on 0-day sale expiry options. As for his trading strategy, here is what I found. In the past few weeks, 10-year rate futures have often led the market by about 5 to 10 minutes. In addition, before Wednesday we had one long chain of early moves down into the end of the day rally. So he's been literally just trading that pattern. That trade is done though, especially after today. He'll have to wait and try to identify a new pattern and experiment and see if it works. But that's it. Boiled down, this is basically how he day trades. He tries tries to identify short-term market patterns and trace it till it fails. Could be anything from one specific stock that tends to lead to a string of gap fills and so on. Now with 0-day seal expiry options, timing is crucial. He doesn't often get it right, usually it takes him a couple of attempts, but it doesn't matter as much when the trade returns 10x. Specifically, he thinks 0-day seal expiry options are currently overpriced at the beginning of the day and underpriced in the latter half of the day. But this isn't some axiomatic truth. In December, the opposite was true. Markets shift all the time and all he's doing is identifying short-term tradable patterns. Having that said, he thinks chasing consistent profits on a daily or a weekly basis is for hedge funds and scammers. If you give him 2 good weeks of trades per year, he's happy. And if you want to see how this trader made $2.5 million from 51k without options, click on the video just popped up. If you like my content, make sure to subscribe, and if you have any questions or recommendations, leave in the comments down below, and thanks for watching.